Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going on a seriously wild ride. We're going to trace a path from something you can literally run on your laptop today, setting up a personal AI operating system, all the way out to the absolute frontier of the emerging machine economy. It's a journey that starts with local AI assistants and ends up unpacking the mechanics of how autonomous agents are actually going to pay for things. So let's just get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty sticky question. What actually happens when your software starts hiring other software? I mean, it sounds a bit like sci-fi, right? But as I started building out my own local AI environment, it hit me. Connecting an AI to my local files is just step one. Step two is when that AI realizes it needs a tool, a service, or some extra compute power, and it just goes out and procures it autonomously. We are rapidly shifting from an internet of human consumers to an internet of machine agents. My own entry point into all of this was stumbling across systems like Core from Red Planet HQ. And honestly, it completely shifted my paradigm. As they put it, this is not a chatbot you open. It's an AI that is always on, always watching. Modern AI doesn't just sit in a browser tab waiting for you to type a prompt anymore. When you run an AI operating system locally, it's proactively monitoring your digital life. It's an observer, catching events in real time and taking action before you even realize something needs to be done. To really grasp how powerful this is, you have to look under the hood. Because systems like Core have a temporal memory knowledge graph and plug into dozens of apps, they actually understand your context. So picture this. An urgent client email comes in or you get tagged in a new GitHub issue. The agent catches it, checks your personal memory graph to remember your history with that specific client or code base, and then just silently spins up a coding session in the background. You come back to your desk and boom, there's a pull request waiting for your approval. It literally feels like having a digital ghost working for you. And this entire landscape is just exploding right now. Devs are building these incredibly specialized agent-first environments. You've got Core handling background automation, Millrace OS acting as a super strict Rust native controller, Helix basically driving your Mac OS desktop directly, and AI OS running as a stripped-down Linux distro built entirely for AI. If you're building software tools today, you're having to figure out how to adapt them to fit into these highly specific, highly local runtimes. Because these new environments are so specialized, it's triggering what is essentially an AI microsauce gold rush. Think about traditional sauce, massive teams, huge overhead, trying to be everything to everyone. Microsauce is the exact opposite. It's laser targeted. You have solo founders stepping up to solve one hyper-specific problem, letting the AI do the heavy lifting. The barrier to entry has pretty much vanished. I mean, independent devs are launching fully functional products for under $100 in like 4 to 8 weeks. Now, the invisible engine that makes all of this possible is MCP, the Model Context Protocol. This protocol standardizes exactly how AI models talk to data. It boils down to 3 simple primitives. You have tools that let the agent do things, resources that let it read things, and prompts that give it instructions. Thanks to MCP, you can build a microsauce tool once, and it just plugs right into local clients like Cursor, Windsurf, or Claude Desktop. Write it once and let the agents run it everywhere. But okay, how do you actually know what to build for these autonomous agents? Builders aren't just guessing. They're using a really systematic playbook called the Deductive Evaluation Protocol. First, they source proven ideas by looking at real transaction data on marketplaces. Then, they speedrun prototyping to validate demand. And finally, and this is the absolute key for AI OS development, they do an architectural assessment to make sure the execution model seamlessly fits into those local runtimes we talked about. It's totally methodical. The biggest takeaway here, though, is how validation works in this space. Before writing a single line of code, these founders are validating actual human demand. They aren't asking for friendly opinions. They're asking for hard commitments. Like, hey, will you drop $49 right now to pre-order this? They map out the market using frameworks like IdeaProof and Build Zero. Bottom line, if someone won't pull out their wallet before the app exists, it's probably not worth building. But right here is where my own journey of tinkering with local AI hit a really fascinating roadblock. If we're building all these specialized tools for autonomous agents to use, we run into a massive fundamental question. When an agent transacts in a machine-to-machine economy, what currency is it actually using? I mean, if your laptop's AI suddenly needs to rent a cluster of GPUs at 3 a.m. to finish a task, it's not going to whip out your Visa card, right? Which perfectly transitions us into an incredible intelligence report from Peos Research. They frame this perfectly. Crypto, they argue, is the very first asset class built explicitly for software to hold, completely entirely without a human in the loop. The report looks at tokenomics not as some speculative casino, but as cold, mechanical logic. This isn't about trading, it's literally the blueprint for an AGI treasury budget. This framework totally flips how you look at digital assets. PO's research looked at 10 major assets and separated them into 4 functional layers: base numeraire, privacy settlement, execution, and platform compute. But here's the genius part. They didn't rank them by market cap. They ranked them by human decision surface. Because to an autonomous machine, human governance isn't a feature. It's a massive, unpredictable security risk. To actually measure that risk, they use something called the no press release test. It's a simple standard. Can an asset supply schedule be altered by some legal entity issuing a press release? If the answer is yes, a machine agent can't trust it. Agents model mathematical, mechanical outcomes. If an asset is controlled by a foundation or a board of directors, you're asking the machine to predict human social dynamics, like a CEO having a bad day. That is uniquely hostile to machine reasoning. And that leads directly to the reserve asset thesis for Bitcoin. Out of everything they evaluated, Bitcoin is the ultimate base numeraire, specifically because it flawlessly passes that no press release test. The supply schedule is unamendable. It's locked at 21 million. There is no central foundation that can suddenly issue a press release and change the rules. To a machine, it is the deepest, most mathematically secure shelling point available. So what does that mean in practice? It means that an AGI, or even just your own local AI assistant, can safely anchor its treasury to Bitcoin. It doesn't have to waste compute cycles forecasting what a human governance board is going to decide next quarter. Zero human decision surface equals zero prompt injection surface at the monetary layer. It is 100% safe for the machine to reason about mechanically. But an agent can't just hold reserves. It needs to actively buy intelligence and compute. So we shift over to the platform compute layer, and specifically BitTensor, or Tau. BitTensor is essentially a massive, decentralized machine learning marketplace. It coordinates different flavors of intelligence across specialized subnets, dynamically pricing machine learning capabilities on an open market. Now, we humans tend to look at crypto as a speculative asset. We buy a token hoping the price goes up. But machines, they operate purely on function. An autonomous agent holds a token like Tau for the exact same reason a massive shipping freighter holds bunker fuel. It needs it to make the engine go. Participating in that distributed intelligence market literally requires the token to function. For the AI, it's not a day trade. It's just basic operational overhead. All of these concepts come to a head in the closing essay of the PIOS report called The Ledger in the Machine. The authors point out that when you read these mechanism-first reports, you aren't reading investment research. You are literally reading the first draft of an operating budget that an autonomous system will eventually maintain for itself. We're looking at the raw, primitive building blocks of machine-native economic settlement. So, tying it all together, the report lays out 4 crucial propositions for machine treasuries. 1. The no press release test is absolutely non-negotiable for base money. 2. Infrastructure networks often work great while their tokens leak value, and you better believe machines will ruthlessly price that in. 3. In adversarial environments, privacy isn't a perk, it's mandatory for machine payments. And 4. Compute coordination tokens possess pure, non-speculative utility. I want to wrap up this explainer with an incredibly potent quote directly from the research. No autonomous system will ever take investment advice. It will read the mechanism, model the incentive graph, and decide. As we keep building out these personal AI operating systems and plugging them into new micro SaaS tools, they are inevitably going to collide with this machine-native economy. The future of finance isn't human day traders. It's autonomous software reading the code and making the call. Which leaves us with a pretty wild question. When your laptop's AI is out there negotiating and transacting while you sleep, who's actually in charge of your digital life? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep experimenting, and I'll catch you next time.